Hey guys, Weekly Piano here. We are ready for the live lesson. As long as I move that community chat guidelines away, it's okay. Nobody here is too rude. Now, I'm sorry that I'm late. I was supposed to do this 2 hours ago. So to all my patrons that are watching this, because I'm going to post it, I'll post this one on YouTube for you all to see afterwards. But if I missed any questions, then you can ask them for next week, and I'll try to log in and do another one. I'm going to try to make time to do another one this week before the week is out, because this one is so late today. It's 6:32 p.m. I have a lot of people overseas who are definitely asleep by now. But I'm going to do my best to give you a good lesson. As long as I can switch my account here so I can see the lesson I'm giving. La 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 la. How's it going, everybody? How are you doing? Where are you? Tell me where you're logged in from right now. And I'll see your notes in 1 second. On my channel. My videos. Man, let me this stuff done. Well, that thumbnail is not at all what I meant it to be. Alright, what's up, Ben Weinstein? I can see people and their chats now. So, welcome. Let's see, the sound working? The sound all right there? Is everything working fine? Awesome. Thanks, Ben. All right, you're my responsive one today, Ben. So it's going to be your job to ask some good questions as soon as I answer Rachel's questions, because I have a patron who asked a couple questions, or maybe just one question. I'm going to view it right now. And Rachel's question was, what do you think about 13th in minor or major chords? Someone told me it was exclusively for dominants or sixths instead of sevenths, but not both. Not both 13th in minor and major chords. Well, okay. You know what? I'm going to show you, Ben, how to use triad pairs. And maybe I can combine these two questions, actually. Just look at 13ths. This is going to be a brief study in 13ths. And yes, Ben, I do use triad pairs. It's called superpositions, the way that I think about it. So, okay, C major scale, right? You have your C major, you got a pretty comping of C major. Now, if you use this note up here, it's generally going to be felt as the sixth if it's a major chord. You can put it together like that. That's like a C major 6 chord, and you can add the 9 in there. And it doesn't sound like a 13th because it's because it's part of it's a part of the consonant harmony in the first, like, you can have a 6 in a major chord and it's not dissonant. Now, if you have a 7th, and then you have this, and you use that note, it's dissonant, which is why it's implied to be the 13th, which is actually up here, because you have your 7th here and your 13th there. If you were to play it here, it's a very interesting question of like why and I don't know, but I think it has to do with the how a note seems to fit into the scale, into the chord that you are into the root voicing. So 1, 3, 5, 7. With the dominant 7, that sounds like the 13th because it doesn't really fit. It adds a dissonance. But 1, 3, 5, 9, it fits. It doesn't add a new layer of dissonance to it. It just adds it expands upon that color. It's not changing the color of the voice. Maybe that's actually what it is. It's the changing of the color of the voicing that you're playing, because this expands upon the color, but it doesn't change it. Now, this changes it, and if it's minor, then that changes it too. So let me look at your question again. You said 13th on minor and major chords. So yeah, it's not exclusively for dominance. You can use what is the 13th on any chord. It's just whether you're going to think about it as a 6th or a 13th. And for those of you who are more beginners, the reason it's called a 13th is because it's the 13th note up the scale from the 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and I do the 11 as sharp 11 because in a major triad, that's actually the natural consonant harmonic tone. If you're going up in thirds, if you're taking into account the harmonic series, because if I were to play an F natural, which is in the C major scale, notice how that sounds dissonant, because the F natural is pulling down to the E natural in the same way that the B is pulling up to the C natural, because it's a tritone that wants to resolve to its consonant third. Now I have a video on that too. I can't remember what it's called. Maybe if I have some super fans in here, you can tell the rest of the people what that actual video is, where I talk about triads, where I talk about tritones and their resolution. It has something to do with classical theory in the title, I believe. But so this is a dissonant note, which is the natural 11. So it's the sharp 11 that's the consonant, and I know it's counterintuitive. And then this is the 13. So if you have a major with a sharp 11, it's a very consonant third. The 13 is consonant there, and you could move it down the octave, and it would not be a dissonant harmony. So that's why you can think of that as the 6th. Now, if you did a dominant, a dominant 13 chord, and I'm keeping the sharp 11 in there. Some people are going to get mad at me for that probably, but it's because normally people just leave out the 11 in chords like this unless it's sharp. But I'm putting that in to bring the point home that is actually the consonant interval in a C major or dominant triad stack, basically. And then this is your 13. Now that is the 13 now, because when you bring it down here, it's very distant because it's a half step away from the dominant 7. And here it's a major 7 away from the dominant 7, so it's going to be very dissonant, which is why it's thought of as the 13. Now you can use that 13 in the context of like, that's a C dominant 7, that's a C13 chord, C dominant 13 chord. And you can add sharp 11 in there if you want. And if you do minor, so 1, minor 3, 5, 7, 9, this is the natural 11. Now, the reasoning, what I'm trying to think of the physical reasoning that is a natural 11. I can't think of it right now. Maybe one of my patrons can yeah, Lydian chromatic that one scene. You know, Luca, I can make MIDI files of these, but not here. I'm not in my studio right now. I'm actually at my cousin's place doing this, so I don't have my MIDI piano. Back at the studio, I have a piano that has built-in MIDI, so I can actually record it into the computer and give you a MIDI file of it. I will do that in the future. I actually have a lesson that I made where I recorded the MIDI and had it written out as notation, but I haven't put that up yet. I've got a bunch of backlogged lessons. I just haven't had time to like put them together and give them to you. And that's one of them where I have the MIDI like laid out with notation and chord names and stuff. But anyway, so minor 13, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. Now again, that 13 is a major 7 away from the flat 7. So if you bring it down here, it's going to change the color of your chord. So you can use a 13. This is a C minor 13 chord. Yeah, so that's the 13 there. So you have your major 13, you have your dominant 13, you have your minor 13. Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Rachel. I think I went pretty hard on that one. Yeah, and you can use both that 13 and the 7 in all of those chords, in all of your compings. All right. Whoops, what did I just do? I just left my piano lesson. Here we go, I'm back. Okay, man, they've changed this. I can't even see how many people are watching this now. They changed the format of it. Oh, there it is, I see. Anyway. All right, next thing somebody wanted to hear was triad pairs. So when you talk about triad pairs, I think of superpositions. So, like, if I have a C triad and then a D triad, that gives you your the C Lydian sound. Or if you have a C triad, and there are all sorts of very interesting colors you can stack on here. And sometimes you'll change one to not be a triad. And you can use that concept also. Like, so what I like to do is use that concept to create different colors. So I won't always have a triad in the bottom half of it, but I'll have like a chord, so I'm playing in C, and the triad is implied, but then I might superimpose like an A flat chord over it. Superpositions. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're referring to, Ben. Let me know if I'm missing the mark with your question. I won't normally play just like two triads right next to each other, but what I actually will do, here's a cool thing. Let's say you're on the dominant of C, so you're on G7, and you want to make a color, so that'll lead you back to C. So you have your 7 and your 3 of your 5 chord. Now you can stack the triad of the flat 6 of that chord to do a really cool sharp 5, sharp 9 chord. And now that you have that voicing, you can like chromatically plane it if you want. Now let me show you that again. 7 of G, 3 of G. Now the triad based on the flat 6 of G. Bring it up a minor third and back down a minor third. And now back to the 1. Where I naturally put the sharp 11 in there. You can also show sharp 5. And now when I do that, I'm thinking the A melodic minor. Cool. That's some stuff on stacked on triad pairs. Okay, rootless fourth voicings. I don't know exactly, honestly, what you mean by that. Like, do they exist? So, fourth voicings, McCoy Tyner did a lot of voicings in fourths, like this. But that they have the root in there. So you have C, you can take the root out. If there's something that I'm not understanding about the term that you're referring to, maybe enlighten me to that. Because, yeah, this would be like McCoy Tyner basic comping where you have your 1, 4, 7, flat 3, and 5. Sometimes the 13 on the top. You meant taking the root out of the bottom, the root out of the bottom note. For example, a voicing of C minor 4 with F in the bass. C minor with F in the bass? I mean, you can. There's like, so C. When you say C minor 4th, that's not really like, you don't say C minor 4th. You say C minor, so minor 7. Do you mean sus4? Like that? So you could be like. That's sort of like a, I don't know, I feel like I've heard that in a Freddie Hubbard. Cool comping to use. cluster that's kind of cool to move around. Cool. I hope I answered that a little bit. Maybe explain a little bit more what that means, and I can try to hone in on your question. I'm not quite entirely sure what you're asking. So the tips for improvisation and jazz. Now, Julio, I have a video. I don't know if you saw the video, the 42-minute video on how to become a well-rounded jazz musician. That gives a lot of aspects of how to gain the vocabulary of the practice, but the essence of the practice is gaining some amount of vocabulary so that you understand the history of it and the tradition of it, and then being free to compose your own melodies improvisationally. Which means that you have an idea, and that idea can, like, so check it out. We're in, let's do a blues, all right? F. This is the blues progression. Now I could do something like an idea that you've probably heard before, like... See, those were all ideas that are drawn from somewhere in the history of jazz, but they're put together in a kind of unique way. It's not super unique what I'm playing right now. All of this has been done in one way or another before, but what's coming from me is an idea. Like, I'll play an idea, and then I will play a response to that idea, but utilizing the layers of knowledge that I have. So I know right now, like, the things that are going through my head are that I am in F, using the Mixolydian scale, which is a dominant 7 and otherwise a major scale, and I know what the major scale is, and I know it all up and down the keyboard. I know what a triad is, and then I know what an enclosure is, and I know these basic bits of vocabulary. So I utilize those, and that gives me the ability to do an idea. Now, the part that makes it musical is when now I'm slowing down in time to go to the 4. I'm about to go to the 4, and my brain is processing what I just played and thinking of what is the next idea, and that's where it gets very mysterious. That's where there's an idea that does make sense, and people can hear it makes sense if it does make sense. If you phone it in, they'll hear that you're phoning it in. But if it makes sense, you're drawing from somewhere deeper and utilizing your deeper intuition is going through these layers of understanding and coming out with a new idea. And now the next idea that has to do with everything you just played. So that's the idea of how the music comes up through you using all this stuff that I talk about in that 42-minute video. Okay, I think I'm almost done here. My cousin is making pigs in a blanket, and we're going to watch Game of Thrones that she has Hulu'd. So that is happening in 4 minutes. So I'm going to have to go. But I'm going to look and see what else we have here. Um, question kind of ends. The question was, who are you in actual musical? Who are you in actually in musical context, especially jazz context? Like, who am I? Like Mimi? Like my. You want to hear my music? If you look up Greg Spiro, Gregspero, and my band is Spirit Fingers, but I've got a bunch of other stuff out. I'm gonna play with Mackay McCraven. Got a bunch of other things. Yeah, and Sato, I think that soloing is about expressing ideas and telling a story. Like, you have an idea. Now that idea, you have a bunch of things that just happened there. Like, you went up and you went down and you landed on 5 and you started on 1. All of these things need to be taken into consideration, but they're taken into consideration by the subconscious. And by the way, Florent, I have videos on fingerings for all of the scales. They're somewhere in this channel. I'm not sure exactly where, but look up, if you go to the channel search and you look up, I think if you look up fingerings, I don't think it'll come up with anything dirty. I think it'll just come up with the ways to play the scales. Pretty sure. I hope. Unless I uploaded that video, I didn't mean to. But yeah. So that's what soloing is about. It's about expressing ideas and telling a story with those ideas. And there are layers and layers and layers of how the subconscious comes up with these stories and these ideas. That's why there's so many different techniques. But in the end, it's about telling a story. Oh, and by the way, this is the if you want to play like B flat blues scale. Like, yeah, actually, that's a tough one. Yeah, I would switch the thumb down there. So. Yeah, so I guess to be perfectly honest, I don't have a specific fingering for the B flat blues scale, because it's a weird, the where you cross over is weird. I guess I would switch over. I always try to use my thumb on a white note before a black note, and then use your thumb there again, because then you only have to cross over. You don't have to cross a whole chasm there. You can just cross the one black note. I hate crossing my thumb under on a black note, but you have to on this one. That's what I would do. And then for left hand. Something like that. It is tough. You probably asked that because it was tough. That's good. I like being challenged here. Alright, anyway guys, thank you so much for logging on. I gotta go. I'm gonna keep this up, especially because it's late. 2 hours late. So I'm sorry about that. Next week I'll be better about being on time. And yeah, if you want to ask questions before the next lesson, to get your questions prioritized, go to go to patreon.com/weeklypiano and sign up there, and you can ask questions on the thread that I'm going to start. I'll start it in the middle of the week for next week's lesson. Cool. Thanks again, guys, and keep practicing. I feel like I should give you some goodbye music.